Hi. Okay, so today we are going to talk about um, sustainable living. Um, Hello.
Hi,
Hi. Okay,
how are
I
you?
think I'm good. I'm good. Alhamdulillah. I think you need to um, put the phone nearer to you because there's so much space behind you.
Okay, okay.
Okay, great. How have you been? How was your work day?
Yeah, a bit busy today, as usual.
Had your dinner already?
I have late lunch.
Ah, okay, okay. So maybe later dinner, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I usually do every week is to speak to someone who's into either in the beauty sector or in anything with regards to beauty, wellness, in the environment, anything that makes someone's life better and healthier. All right. So last week I spoke to Annie Chan. So Annie Chan is a good friend of mine. So has she was an expert on relationship. So she spoke about how we can get to know ourselves, how we can accept and create a better relationship between, let's say, friends or working colleagues or the spouse or your friend, your family members. So it was a good conversation. So today is a little bit different. The topic will be sustainable living. So I think sustainable living is something which we battle with every day. And we've seen that in this environment during this COVID-19, it has taught us a very big lesson that when everything stops, the world starts to heal, right? So that's the common jargon that we use, like during these times where you have to stay locked down, you don't drive cars so much, you don't go anywhere at all. So this is the time where the world starts to heal, correct?
True.
Yeah. You're very silent now. So okay, so now we have a few people here. So why don't you introduce yourself? What do you do, and what is your expertise?
Okay, so first of all, good evening, and thank you for inviting me today to join the session. I'm
Most
happy to
welcome.
be with you and with the audience.
Mhm.
So my name is Wesam. I'm originally from Palestine,
Mhm.
and I did my degree in civil engineering in
Mhm.
Palestine. Then I joined my master degree in Malaysia.
Mhm.
And then also I did my PhD in Malaysia, in University Science Malaysia.
Mhm.
And I've been working in several places. Previously, I work in Palestine. I teach in the university.
Mhm.
And then I was visiting also in several institutions in South Korea, in US. In the US, I did my fellowship in the MIT in US, and
Mhm.
I was a visiting also scholar in Canada. And
Mhm.
currently, I'm teaching at University Ton Hussein on
Mhm.
in Johor.
Oh, so you've been
As
traveling around since you started, going to the university and all that.
yes, so that's back in 2003. I started my journey in postgraduate studies, then my research. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's been like 17 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So why in this sustainable living, in this kind of industry? Because I know, like, 17 years ago, this thing wasn't something which people talk about, wasn't something of concern to anybody at all. Because I remembered like 11 years ago, no, I think 12 years ago. So I worked in this bioenergy company. So we built plants to create biofuel, using biofuel, bioenergy and all that. So at that time, it was such a struggle because it was a German company. And then it lasted only a year, and then the company just closed down because there wasn't any take on it,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Actually, maybe I build up my interest since my third year in my degree, which was like more than 20 years back.
Mm-mm.
I remember we took one topic on environmental impact assessment
Mm-hmm.
during the course of project management. So I started being interested in knowing the impacts of the projects on the environment. So
Mm-hmm.
then I did my master degree on that topic. I took
Mm-hmm.
that topic as a research. And
Mm-hmm.
then later on, I developed, when I work after my master degree, I found out that air pollution is crucial. And this is a very big challenge on the local and global aspect. So then I
Mm-hmm.
did my PhD on air pollution, which
Mm-hmm.
is quite linked, because in my master's as well, when I study the environmental impacts, I go into the air pollution issues.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, my interest developed in 2016, and I applied for a fellowship on sustainable cities.
Mm-hmm.
So just to make it less technical for everybody, this is very crucial because nowadays, even if you link it to the COVID-19 scenario that we are living
Yes.
in now,
Mm-hmm.
basically an environmental issue, because when we talk about the COVID-19, it is something related to the biodiversity.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody described this dilemma in a very simple way. He said, we disturb the organism, the microorganism. We uprooted the forests. We changed the environmental landscape. So those
Yeah.
microorganisms attack us back. So
Mm-hmm.
we start to disturb them first. So
Yes.
now the main challenge, if you want to look at this issue locally or globally, it is same, but it is
Mm-hmm.
getting complicated.
Mm-mm.
So in each country, we are facing challenges. When we talk
Yes.
about environment, so we have a solid waste issue. We
Mm-hmm.
consume a lot of products, food,
Mm-hmm.
like all the items that we are using.
Mm-hmm.
So we are creating the waste, right?
Yes.
If we don't manage the waste properly, then we will accumulate thousands, if not millions of tons, and
Yes.
that will be a burden, especially for small countries.
Mm-hmm.
You will need more landfills, right?
Yes.
And the land
Yes.
is scarce and it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So that is cause economic loss, socio-economic impact, and public health concern.
Mm-hmm.
So when we focus on the environmental assessment for
Mm-hmm.
each project, means we have to know for each project what is the impacts on the environment and on the people. And we have to propose, they call it mitigation measures, to
Mm-hmm.
reduce and eliminate the impacts on the environment and on the people.
So that means
It seems
so you're saying that the government actually have to step in order to educate the people.
definitely, it's not only education.
Mm-hmm.
Education is the first step, but one of the crucial efforts that need to be done by the government is the policy, the regulation, and enforcement. Because you
Right.
can have the very powerful policy and regulations
Mm-hmm.
without a strong enforcement, you will have no result. And maybe
Yes.
Singapore is a good example in terms of enforcement,
Mm-mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because the challenge is also it's quite unique,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely it starts from education, because I'll tell you something, and this is very important for the whole region. The
Mm-mm.
haze which is coming frequently in the region. I don't want
Yes.
to get
Yes.
into more detail, but you know, this haze, it's a human behavior. It's nothing to do with technology. It's
Yes.
nothing to do with transport, nothing to do with industry. It is
Yes.
because of the human, they burn, they do the open burning, they burn the forests. And this is
Mm-hmm.
creating a lot of troubles, not only
Yes.
on the environment, also on the
Mm-hmm.
health.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of reports on the losses, on the health impacts, and on the economy as well. And you just
Mm-hmm.
imagine in one of the scenarios in like this is was in Malaysia in 2015, the
Mm-hmm.
economy loss of the haze, it was 1.5 billion ringgit,
Oh
billion,
my.
not million.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember in one of the haze incident, they mentioned that 200,000 people admitted in the hospitals. And this is, again, nothing to do with technology. It's about human behavior. And
Yes.
sometimes you see that in many countries. If
Mm-hmm.
we have some waste, we tend to burn the waste.
Mm-hmm.
We want to reduce the waste, but we create one more serious problem, which is air pollution.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, if you burn plastic, it will create toxins which cause
Yes.
cancer for people.
Speaking
So,
speaking of plastic burning, right? So a friend of mine told me, so this is like a scam in US. So they produce this mat, which is plastic, to put inside the grill, like a, the barbecue grill. So
yeah.
this lady bought and said, oh, the review is good and it's FDA approved and all that. So she puts it into the grill, and common sense tell you, if there's heat, there's fire, there's gas, you cannot put any plastic there, right? So then guess what, it got burned, and her house almost got burned.
Wow.
So this is like entirely like stupidity, right?
True, true. So the basic idea, the basic concept of sustainability, that we have
Mm-hmm.
to find the balance between the economy needs, the
Mm-hmm.
environmental protection needs, and the
Mm-hmm.
societal needs.
Yes.
And it is all about, when you talk about the society, it's all about social justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
A very basic concept, like in a country, in terms of services, in terms of resources, we have to find the balance between and the justice in distributing the sources. So it is about, that's why, like, to me, sustainability, it's a way of living. And many people, they call it sustainable living, that we need to adapt to live a sustainable in a sustainable way, so that we reduce the harm on the environment, which definitely reflect on our health.
So coming to that, right? So how do normal people, like, you can say, oh, it's the government and all that. So now we as an individual, that's why we're having this conversation, right? To help my audience, or to share with my audience how we can reduce waste and help to sustain the environment in a better way, rather than producing a lot of trash and producing a lot of waste every day. So how do, like, commoners like us, like, what do we do every day?
Okay, when we talk about sustainability, it starts from, and one of the basic thing is sustainable consumption,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So in whatever we are practicing, whatever
Mm-hmm.
we are consuming, we have
Mm-hmm.
to take into consideration, and this is related to everybody. Like, I'll give you one more example. For
Mm-hmm.
people, sometimes people like to change their handphone every few months. Like, if there is a new model, they will go and buy it. And
Yes, yes.
finally, this handphone will become an electronic waste, which is very difficult to get rid of it, because it is multiple material,
Yes.
plastic, electronics, like metals.
Mm.
So this is, and again, like, you see when you go to shopping malls, sometimes, like, they decide one or 2 days in a week, there is no plastic bags, right?
Mm.
Because
Yes,
they want
yes.
to reduce the amount of plastic which is staying in the environment for hundreds
Mm.
of years before they
Yes.
degrade. So this is like in the water consumption
Mm-hmm.
for us when we take shower. So normally they said like 3 minutes will be enough for a person to get a shower. So like if you spend more than that, or I mean, this is kind of related to our behavior, the way we consume resources.
Right,
But definitely, this is the very basic rule of sustainability. If we want to go more on the like industry, traffic, this need the efforts from everybody, like the government, local communities, the NGOs, the academia, right? Because, okay, we decide we want to do recycling, we want to reduce the waste.
Yes.
But if I do separation for waste, plastic in one bin, metal in others, if there is no system in the country that support the recycling, my effort will have no outcome, because if I separate in my house, but when I send it to the waste to the collectors will take it in one container. Then whatever I do at home, it does not reflect on the system in the country.
Yeah, okay, that's the thing.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, no, actually a customer of mine, she said, you know, Sharifa, we asked them to separate our waste, right? And then after that, I saw the garbage truck came and put everything into the same. Yeah. And so what's the point?
True. That's why it's an integrated system, right? If I
then how do they segregate after that?
Normally they separate the collection. Like every 2 days, they will come to collect the organic waste.
Yes.
The second day will come to collect plastic. So they will have separate collection days for separate sectors, right? Or at the same day, they have separate containers. So plastic will be in one container, organic food will be organic waste in one container, and metal in one container. Then the destination will be different. You can't mix them in the landfill, right?
Okay.
So it is a great effort.
Okay, hang on, Wesam. So there's this guy, Jonathan. He asked, hi, what is the topic for tonight? Recycling. So the topic is right at the bottom. There is sustainable living. So it's like how to reduce waste and save the environment in a better, more positive way.
True. So yeah, if you want to go again on the bigger scale, okay, for the industry, and this is the main, in every country, this is the main contributor. So the way we handle the control of the pollution, it has to be positive. Means that I don't want to blame the industry. The government everybody need to help the others. So I'll give you a very basic and a simple model. So we need to help the industry to control the pollution. Why we need to help them? Because if we don't help them, the pollution will create a lot of health issues. And finally, we pay the price of our health, and the government will pay for the health sector to treat those people. Maybe I'll just give you 2 quick numbers just to visualize the issue. In India, 1 million people dying every year because of air pollution. And the country is losing 150 billion USD because of air pollution. Give you one extreme example. China, 2.8 million people dying every year because of air pollution, and they are losing 900 billion, not million, billion USD because of air pollution.
How do you quantify this? Like, how do you know that they die from pollution?
Yeah, because this is from international report from WHO, and that if you talk about the whole globe aspect, and this is recent. The latest one in 2019 was on the status of air pollution, right? So 7 million people dying because of air pollution. That is globally, and there is a recent report says that from the COVID-19, they predict that they will lose, the whole globe will lose 8% of the GDP.
Oh,
Of
wow.
the GDP.
So,
When we talk
so
about
in
the GDP,
so in other sorry to interrupt. So in other words, it's just like you hire an auditor or a finance person, right? Financial expert. So he or she goes through the finances and then say, okay, you need to cut this. Then your your gross profit, your KPI will go up, right? So then
yep,
this is coming to the environment. So if you solve this major issue, which a lot of people or a lot of countries find it like so small, but when they solve it, then they can actually earn that millions of dollars, right?
true, true. So just I'll give you this piece of information, which is very
Mm,
recent.
mm,
So the prediction that the COVID-19 will
mm,
cause a loss of 8% of the GDP. When we
mm.
talk about the GDP globally, it is $87 trillion, right?
$1 trillion.
But they said in the same report, the global population
Mm,
is losing 15% every year because
mhm.
of a poor environmental health. Means
Oh,
that
wow.
we have double of the COVID-19 effect
Mhm,
on the global scale each
mm,
year, but nobody talk about it. That's why,
mhm.
like most of the pollution issues, it is they call the air pollution as a silent killer. And you just imagine when the country is losing billions of dollars, right?
Mhm.
Even in numbers, how many people now died because of COVID-19? It's 600,000, but every year we are losing 7 million people and they are dying silently, nobody even talking about it.
So
So
I
health
think I think
and
that okay, wait, hang on. I sorry, I got very excited. So I think there was this conversation I had with a friend who cleans the aircon duct. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah,
but unfortunately he passed on already. So he was explaining to me. He said, like, do you know that the environment is so dirty? Like if you are in a building and then you don't get the aircon ducts cleaned, or any of the pipes cleaned, so every day dust and dirt and germs will float in the building, within the building, and
true,
the entire workforce that is working in the building can fall ill. So he said that most people find it like, oh, because germs and dust, all this, you can't really see them, right? Until it's moldy or accumulated. So, and also the fact that the pipes are deep embedded into the building, so you cannot really see, but you can breathe and you can smell. Sometimes it's odorless as well. So that can also affect the health of the people inside. So on that note, I guess it's the same as outside the sustainability. It says like it's like the sick building syndrome.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So
yes,
then coming to like everyday people, right? So we must be actually aware of our house, our home, and our environment, like our office, our work areas. So if we don't consistently clean it and we just produce waste and just keep piling on, keep buying, keep producing waste, right? It firstly we will lose, like as you said, lose money, right? So to put it
yep,
in layman's terms, you will lose money. So number two is someone in the house or in the building or in the workplace will fall sick and keep falling sick and wondering, like keep going to the doctor and the doctor can't find anything wrong with the person, right? So then it must be, like you said, um, the air quality can be a silent killer,
true.
right?
So, so back to your point that you raised about the indoor air pollution, which is from the same report, it mentioned that 3.8 million people
Mm-hmm.
dying because of indoor air pollution. And that is very serious in some countries, like
Oh, wow.
45% in Indonesia
Mm-hmm.
and 43% in India. They
Mm-mm.
still rely on the biomass for cooking.
Mm-mm.
And most of those people who are exposed are women and the kids.
Yes,
So you
yes.
just imagine that 3.8 million people dying because of indoor air pollution. And even in every country, we have a lot of sources of air pollution inside the house. You are talking about the stove, you are talking about the fresheners that we are using, you are talking about the furniture, talking about the printer. So there is a lot of photocopier machines.
Yes.
So whatever material you are consuming, it might release air pollutants.
Yes.
And the most dangerous when those pollutants are tiny in the size, and they one of the pollutants, it is the particulate matters with 2.5 micrometer, which is the very serious, because it will go directly to the lungs. And if it is those particles carried chemical elements, then that will cause cancer, lung cancer. So,
okay, Dr. Wesam, there's this viewer asking, Jonathan Lee. So he says, sanitization of ducts will improve the air quality. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Wesam. Dr. Wesam.
Yeah, you know, that can be one approach, but the best approach, is to have enough ventilation in the house, because, you know, the outdoor air pollutants, it keep getting into, even if you don't have, like, if it's not only from the air conditioning system or whatever, you have to have a fresh air, right, circulating in the house or in the building, so that you have good ventilation, reduction of the pollutants, right? Because you don't want to keep circulating like uncleaned air, right?
Yes, stale air.
Yeah, it might not kill all the germs, all the microorganisms. So the best way is to have a good ventilation. But definitely in some areas, this might be very impossible. Like if you are living in a city, like, let's give an example, like Jakarta, and you are living by the roadside, right? Even if you do ventilation, the outdoor pollutants, it is too polluted. So even if you recirculate the air, it will be polluted as well. So then you have to go on a purification of the air in the indoor environment. But definitely there should be more fundamental solution, which, like, if you want to compare, like the case in Singapore, or I relate to my experience in South Korea, when you have a good public transport, then people will rely less on the private cars, the emission levels will be less, and definitely the health impacts will be less, and people will live a healthy life.
So this Jonathan says IAQ should be mandated in Singapore, not only for carbon dioxide numbers. So what's your comment?
You know, like for now, for the WHO, the World Health Organization, they focus on the particulate matters, the PM 2.5, which is tiny particles, the 2.5 micrometer, because this is the most serious and impact the health, the respiratory system, right? Definitely, there is a lot of pollutants in the atmosphere. It depends on the sources, whether it's from traffic or industry. But definitely, like, because when they mention about the carbon emissions, it's mostly related, they're related to the climate change, right? But we have more serious issues than climate change, because climate change, it is now affecting us, and it is on the long run. But if I have on the immediate impacts, the air that we are inhaling, it's unhealthy, and it is killing people. So the intervention should be because of air pollution, not because of climate change. Definitely both of them, because climate change is coming from air pollution, the greenhouse gases, it's all air pollutants, right? So even because some countries, like, they claim we are a very small country, we are not contributing to the climate change, the big industry contributing. But if you don't want to intervene because of climate change, it is because of air pollution, which is locally affecting the people.
So how can we, like a small country in Singapore, right? Like now you're living in Johor, Malaysia, right? So the country is definitely a larger scale and a lot more complex, I think, to solve this problem. Like how do we as a small society, like living in Singapore, that's a tiny island. So where do we start? Like you said, education is only a small part of it. So what else?
Yeah, so we talk about awareness for
Mm-hmm,
things which is relevant to the behavior of people, right? When we
mm-hmm.
talk about the waste, talking about
Yes.
oven burning, talking about education to use the public transport, right?
Mm-mm.
But definitely,
Yes.
before I ask the people to use the public transport, I need to
Mm-mm.
provide them an affordable, accessible, and convenient system, right?
Right, right.
Because I
Yes.
can't ask people to use the public transport if they need to wait 1 hour for the bus. Definitely, they want
Yes.
to, right? But if you
Yes,
have
yes.
multiple means, then it's easier for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then
Right.
going for the upper level,
Mm-hmm.
talking about industry, as I said, we need to, the government need to make it easier for the industry. How to make it easier? So I always ask why we can't consider when the industry implement pollution control strategy for the industry, why
Mm-hmm.
we can't call that project as a CSR project. This is the best CSR project that can be to serve the community because we
Mm-mm.
are protecting their health. Even
Yes.
though that's why, like, you might help the company financially, but you are
Mm-hmm.
saving the budget of the government that will go to the health sector, and you will save the health of the people. And I'll tell you one more interesting number. In the latest
Mm-hmm.
report that I mentioned about the losses, economic losses, they
Yes.
said if we improve the health system, the
Mm-hmm.
global economy will gain $12 trillion.
Oh, wow. Seriously.
Yes, because now globally we are losing 1.7 trillion working days because people are
Mm-hmm.
getting sick because of environmental health, poor environmental
Yes.
health.
Yes.
So if we enhance the health sector, the environmental health, people
Mm-hmm.
will be sick, they will go to work. Then we will
Yes.
increase the productivity. And that
Uh,
increase will increase the global GDP by 12 trillion a year. It's
see,
huge.
it's interesting. Okay, so now the solution for COVID-19 is because the reduction of air pollution, right? Because a lot of people are not going to work and all that. So I think this is the best part because now it's like almost ground zero, right? For air
No,
pollution. So then this is the best time for the government to actually step in and introduce cleaner living, healthy living, and doing like you said, simple things like, oh, take the public transport, then be more uh, you know uh, and environmentally friendly, go do recycling and all that. So then when you start now, like 10 years later, then you will realize that whatever you've lost during this COVID-19 period for this 1 year, right, you will earn, I think, like you said, like it can go up to 3 to 7 times more, correct?
yep.
So
The idea is, yep,
yes, yes,
the
go ahead.
idea is, so I mentioned one point. The other point, and this is practiced in some countries, like you can give incentives to the industries, like in terms of tax reduction, or in some countries they are giving them loans with no interest for if you want to implement a policy or a mechanisms to control the emissions, right?
Mm-mm-mm.
And
Yes.
definitely, the role of the government is crucial. So you mentioned about the COVID-19 and the lockdown. So
Mm-mm.
there were some crazy ideas like why we don't have like maybe few days or 1 month a year that we shut everything so that the pollution will be reduced.
Wouldn't
But this is not
be,
really practical because
yes, not practical.
still the people need to survive. So
Yes,
the other way is,
sustainability. Mm.
yeah, we maintain the industry, we maintain the economic development, but same
Mm.
time we maintain the environmental pollution protection, right? We go parallel. At
Mm-hmm.
the holistic approach, we will save a lot of money. We will save the health of people. So every sector need to contribute. If everybody is greedy or like we don't want to contribute or we don't want to cooperate, then everybody was losing, and we are seeing the results now, right? Because when the lockdown, there is no industry, there is no activities, everybody's losing.
Yes, yes. So I think, Jonathan, this can apply to what you said. CSR needs all to be cooperating, but sadly, there is always a conflict of interest between the people and the profitability of the businesses. Yes, you are right. So, like what Doctor said, like everybody have to do their part. So it has to be a sincere effort in all aspects, the government, the people, the businesses, So we must
NGOs.
we must actively do it together for that sole purpose of reducing waste, reducing improving the air quality, better standards of living without destroying the environment. So if, let's say, everything gel in cohesively, then the CSR factor works, right?
Yeah, and let me tell you one more interesting number. Why 10% of the population, of all population, need to control more than 80% of the wealth globally?
Yes.
So this is related. Like, okay, you want development, but this development is crucially to meet the needs of the people, not to make them more wealthy in the price of that, making the life of the poor people unhealthy. And even like if we link it to the climate change, right? So there are a lot of people talking about adaptation, right? Which is, to me, it's not fair. It's not fair to talk about adaptation. Adaptation means that you are telling those who suffer, you need to accept that there is a pollution and you need to live with that, right? So, okay, let's take one example. If the temperature increased by 10 degrees in the Gulf countries, what they need to do just to increase the degree of the aircon a bit. But what the people will do in Africa, where they don't have even electricity. So it's not fair. It's not fair at all, because to some people they need to spend a lot extra of the money that they have, but in other countries they might suffer. They don't even have water. They don't even have electricity. They won't have even food. And then you ask them to adapt. So the first strategy that we start, it is about mitigation. We have to reduce first. Then we talk about adaptation. Adaptation, it should not be in the first place for those the vulnerable groups and the countries.
Right. Okay. So there's this. Okay. So Jonathan says, Doctor, in your personal opinion, do you view this global lockdown to be a medical one, or more of an economic one, or is it a hybrid of both that really shook mankind? So that's his question.
Let's reflect about what I see here in Malaysia. And this is mentioned by the decision makers, policy makers. It says that, and this is in every country, the lockdown is to slow down the infection. So that the health system won't be overwhelmed, and then there might be a failure, like what happens maybe in Italy and some parts of the world. So to me, I view it as like an efficient mean to reduce and slow the infection rate, and it has been successful in many countries. Maybe this is surprisingly. Even in Gaza, which is like maybe totally in a siege, right? They have some flow of people from here and there, but because in Gaza and in Palestine, they started very early the lockdown, so the infection rate is very low. It's very slow, very low, and it's efficient. While like if you look at some other countries who like take it like a bit not really serious, the infection rate, even though it's a very small countries, like I gave you an example, in Oman, you just read the numbers, like now more than 60,000 cases.
Oh,
And
wow. 60,000.
every day they have 1,500 every day. So definitely this is a measure, a good measure, but you will have, you will need the cooperation by the people, social distance and wearing the mask, so
Right.
that you can keep all these rates the acceptable and you know, the level that can be absorbed by the health system.
Okay. So, thank you so much. I feel that I've learned something interesting today, like, as simple as reducing air quality and, being more aware of the environment and like uh, saving the environment is actually more than just saving the environment or healing the world. It actually affects our life, our entire life, our standard of living, our income, our health. So it's actually more than that. This is something which I do not know. I've never thought about it, and nobody has ever taught to me, all these factors until we have this conversation now. So I'm glad that I had you. So any last words before we end? Wait, hang on. So Jonathan say, thank you, sir. Your answer opened up a whole new perspective of my view with regards to the pandemic. So he says, thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, any last words for you to say?
Yeah, actually, just a quick comment on your last statement. Yeah, definitely, this is related to everybody. It's not about only industry or only government or only, it's
Yes.
everybody, because everybody need to contribute, because it started, as I mentioned, from the individual by the consumption, even water at home, right? Even when we, like washing clothes, washing dishes, we have to conceptualize all these matters, because it affects us. Like when you have no water, everybody is suffering.
Yes.
Because of the pandemic, now everybody is suffering, economy-wise,
Yes.
health-wise. So that's why it's a collective responsibility, and it is an integrated efforts that need to be done so that we save each other,
Yes.
and definitely looking at the economy of it, the health aspects, it is all when we have a sustainable practices, we will maintain a good living standard with a good economy, right? It is only we need to think on a holistic approach, and every sector need to help each other in terms of maintaining a good lifestyle for everybody.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for inviting
Yes.
me.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to do this on a last minute basis. But I
Yeah,
think
thank
this is like really so important topic, and I'll post this up on my IGTV for everyone to watch. So for those who have missed this or want to rewatch, actually can watch it on my IGTV. And also for those who have any questions, you can drop me a line so I can pass the message on to Dr. Wesam, or you can go on to his Instagram, which is right on my post. I will put it on the IGTV as well. Okay?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a good night. I'll see you again. Bye.